session is dedicated to class 10 and we are discussing poem 1 Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. Well, let me first discuss the central idea of the poem Dust of Snow by Robert Frost. Well, friends, the Dust of Snow by Robert Frost has a beautiful central idea. It is a simple poem with a deep meaning. The poet wants to explain to us that a small incident in life can have a big change and a significant change in future. Even a very small incident in life, a very small change in life can lead to a big change in future. For instance, in the poem, the poet, who appears to be depressed and dejected, undergoes a sudden change of his mood from sadness to happiness with a very small incident of the showering of the dust of snow by the crow which was sitting on hemlock tree. So this incident of the shower of the dust of snow on the poet suddenly from the hemlock tree brings out a significant change in his mood, and he turns from sadness to happiness and wants to enjoy the rest of the day and doesn't want to get it wasted in regretful thought. And that is what the poet wants to say, that even a small incident in life can have a big change and a big and significant change in our future. It also reflects that hard times, if we persist with the hard time, happiness and enjoyment are bound to come back. In the stanza 1, the poet says, "The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow from a hemlock tree." The poet says that suddenly a crow was sitting on a hemlock tree, and suddenly he shook the tree and made the snow that was just on the leaves of the tree fall on the poet. So falling off the shower of the dust of snow suddenly changed the mood of the poet. And then the second stanza, "He gives me, my heart, a change of mood." Suddenly the shower of the dust of snow on the poet brings out a change in his mood from melancholy to happiness, from sadness to happiness, and the poet suddenly wants to enjoy the rest of the time, the rest of the day happily, and therefore his mood changes from gloomy state of mind, sadness, to happiness. When the soft and cold snow fell from the tree on the poet, it changed his mood from this state of sadness to happiness. He started feeling soft and soothing, refreshed. The simple incident helped him enjoy the rest of the day, and he decided to enjoy the rest of the day in happiness. Some questions. What is the dust of snow? A dust of snow is a shower of snow, a flakes of snow that has fallen from the tree. The sudden shower in the form of dust of snow changed the poet's mood. Second part of the question, how has the poet's mood changed? The poet's mood has changed from the state of sadness to happiness. The sudden shower of the dust of snow from the hemlock tree had changed the poet's mind from a state of sadness to happiness, and he has completely changed his mood and wants to enjoy the rest of the day in happiness and in joy. Next question. Frost presents nature in a very different manner in this poem. How? Generally, the poet takes the birds like cuckoo, peacock as an object of happiness, as a bird of happiness. But here in this poem, the poet has taken a crow, which is symbolically a state of sadness and depression. It is a symbol of depression. Similarly, generally in the poet of nature, the poetry which is being composed, generally the poets take the trees such as oak tree, any other tree other than hemlock tree, which is a poisonous tree. So the poet has taken here a very different, objectivity. He has taken hemlock tree, which is poisonous, as a symbol of depression and sadness, from the sadness to happiness. Now he just wants to emphasize that even the ugliest thing, even the most depressing thing, can turn into happiness with a sudden change in mood. If we just recall the sudden change, it can bring out happiness out of sorrow. That is why the poet has taken a different perception of things. Generally, a hemlock tree is a poisonous tree. It is a poisonous plant with a small white flower. The poet Robert Frost did not choose the oak tree or maple tree. Rather, he took the hemlock tree. All the beautiful and things are not always meant for joy. The crow and hemlock tree represent, sorrow and depression. And that is the reason why in this poem we find a different perception the poet has taken of nature. Though out of sorrow we can also get happiness if our mind changes to a certain extent. And the last question, have there been times when you felt depressed and hopeless? Have you ever experienced similar moments? See, every human being in his or her life experiences some sort of sorrow. Sorrow and dejection are part of life. So long as we are human beings, we are bound to be affected by sorrows of life. But the moment of happiness which nature can provide us can change sorrow into happiness. So we should never be depressed. Rather, we should persist with time, that it is bound to change. Time, which is sometimes not favorable for us, is bound to change, and sorrows can turn into happiness. So we should never lose heart. If there are bad times or if there are depressions, we should always think the positive aspect of life, because only a positive mind can have a positive aspect of life, and therefore we should never feel dejected. There have been innumerable times that we often come across incident which really affect our mind. But then what happens? A sudden change in the perception from negativity to positivity can bring happiness in our life. And therefore the poet's idea in this poem is that a very small incident can have a significant change in our life. We should never lose heart. Rather, we should persist with time, because time will only bring us joy out of sorrow. Thank you very much. Have a nice day ahead.